The last word in podcasting news. This is the Podnews Weekly Review with James Cridland and Sam Sethi.
I'm James Cridland, the editor of Podnews.
And I'm Sam Sethi, the CEO of True Fans.
What both creators and publishers want less of is managing 5 different platforms and 5 different tools with 5 different logins, 5 different payment subscriptions.
Tyler Denk from Beehiiv talks to us about the platform's new podcast host. Plus,
so we really kind of holistically at the campaign, it's very rare one of our customers is running just the podcasting campaign with us. It's part of the entire story.
Tom Leone from Brkthru on how advertisers know how well podcast advertising works. Plus, more tools from Buzzsprout. And this podcast is sponsored by Buzzsprout with the tools, support and community to ensure you keep podcasting. Start podcasting, keep podcasting with Buzzsprout.com.
From your daily newsletter, the Podnews Weekly Review.
James, before we get into the show this week, I think a little happy birthday is in order. It's Apple's 50th birthday, James. How old do we feel?
Yes, well, exactly. And Paul McCartney playing at the special Apple party, which must have been pretty cool. I bet he finished with Hey Jude. And I bet Hey Jude went on for slightly too long. That's what Paul McCartney does. Bless him.
Let it be. Just let it be.
Oh,
James.
yes, exactly. And I bet he sang his new song, and no one recognised it at all. It's a good song. You can very much hear that his voice is going, but it's definitely a good song. So anyway, I'm sure that he is trousering all of the money for that. And well done him, and well done Apple for booking that. That's made me quite jealous.
Yeah. Well, where was your invite? Is the question.
Where was my invite? Person who listens to everything I do. Where was my invite? Maybe I should post it on Mastodon where she'll see it as well.
Oh, really? Stalker.
Yes, exactly right. Anyway, enough about Apple. I don't want her to pull my arms and legs off, so let's move on.
Let's talk about our sponsors, Buzzsprout. Did they send you a press release? Because I didn't see it in Podnews, but obviously they talked about it in Buzzcast. So they've announced transcriptions for all paid plans, and they're free. James, tell me more.
Yeah, this is very good news. Very, very good news. And no, they didn't send me a link. So thanks, Alban. But yes, big updates for transcripts on Buzzsprout. So everyone, if you are using a paid plan with Buzzsprout, you will get your episodes transcribed automatically for free, which is good. So it's part of what you get when you sign up for Buzzsprout. The other update is inside the transcript editor, you can now add chapter markers, which is good because chapter markers obviously very helpful. We use them, as you just heard, in the intro, and they're particularly useful actually for things like AI. So they say. I'd not thought about that, but yes, you're absolutely right. AI is useful. So yes, I think all of that is good, and good that Buzzsprout is doing the accessibility stuff for free, as I believe that everybody should be doing. So hurrah for that.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and congratulations to Buzzsprout for doing that. I have a question. We talked about Overcast last week doing transcripts, and obviously we've talked about Apple doing transcripts. Just a thought that went through my head. Is that the right place? Shouldn't it be where it is with Buzzsprout? Shouldn't the hosts be doing transcripts? So it's a one transcript, many apps, rather than individual apps doing transcripts, so that the Overcast transcript is not available anywhere else. The Apple transcript is not available anywhere else. And now you've got overlap.
The reason why Apple is producing transcripts is that Apple can produce a transcript for the shows that don't have them. And ideally, what should be happening is you produce a transcript for yourself. You go through it and you make sure that everything is correct. And when you publish your episode, that is what is published. Now, the problem with podcasting is that not everybody is producing a transcript, and it looks pretty rubbish if your podcast app has transcripts for some shows but not for others. And so what both Apple and Overcast, I understand, have is a fallback that if there is no transcript, then then the app will make the transcript for you. And I think that that's also fine. But I would prefer that the podcast hosts were making the transcripts. Now, at the moment, my understanding is that Overcast isn't actually looking at the inbuilt transcript with the RSS feed, and I think that that's a bit of a mistake to Marco. I have told him so, and I'm hoping that he is going to fix that. He says that actually that quite a lot of the code is already in there. It just needs wiring up. So hopefully he will fix that. But I do think that a transcript should be the bare minimum that we do as podcasters, that we do as creators. And that is what should appear everywhere. And I'm really pleased to see Overcast giving you access to transcripts for free, and also Buzzsprout now giving you access to create transcripts for your shows for free, essentially, with any paid plan. So I think all of that is very good news.
Okay. Now, I haven't seen the Overcast transcripts. Do they provide speaker labels with the transcript, or is it timed transcripts only?
That is a good question, and I can't remember from the transcript that I went to have a look at. I don't think it did, because you end up with something that says speaker 1 or speaker 2, and it doesn't look really as good as you would want it to. So I think from that point of view, probably no. But yeah, I mean, the only one that I have, to be honest, looked at is the transcript for the Podnews Daily, which is just me. And so therefore there's no speaker diarization is, I think, the phrase you're looking for, in terms of that. Yeah.
I mention it because Buzzsprout do a great job of providing speaker labels. And then what we do in True Fans is use the person tag to associate to the speaker label so that we can show an image against it. And so the two parts work well. Does Apple provide speaker labels?
Apple does if you provide them. So if we fix them as we have done in the Buzzsprout dashboard, then, and this is the big benefit of doing your own transcripts, is that if you do all of the speaker label stuff, then that appears within Apple Podcasts automatically. But it only appears if you are providing that.
Yes, because Apple don't provide that, do they?
Because Apple don't know the name of the people, right? And so therefore it's very difficult for Apple to turn around and say, well, this is what James sounds like and that's what Sam sounds like. So Apple can't do any of that stuff. So they are a little bit hamstrung in terms of that. They could put different speakers in different colors, I suppose, but you're really clutching at straws there. I think it's a good thing if you can add that. And I think what Buzzsprout do, and I may be wrong here, but I think what Buzzsprout do is that they link the speakers in the transcript with the podcast people tag in the RSS feed, so you can actually see who's on that particular episode. I think that's what they do. So if you have a look at last week's episode, it should appear in the individual podcast person tag for the episode that I was on, but also Barry from Podhome was on, et cetera, as well as you, Sam. So I think that's what they're doing. And of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I think I go back to my point then, which was I think hosts should do it. I think the way that Buzzsprout have done it is the better way. Apple could extend, because they don't support the person tag within the Apple podcast. And I remember talking to an Apple executive at Podcast Movement saying they don't see any value in it. So I don't think they're going to ever support the person tag. But if they did, they could then extend it to allow you to put guests in and also put speaker labels against the person tag. But again,
yeah, they could. But on the other side, firstly, that should be coming from the podcast hosting company. Yeah. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that what Apple is very keen at doing, again, is to make sure that everything is as consistent as possible. And so therefore, if you have 15% of the podcasts out there with a person tag and 85% without, then that's not particularly helpful either. And so you end up with a not consistent view. And I think also there's the other side, which is everybody is trying to spam Apple every single time. And of course, we could pretend that we've got Joe Rogan as a guest. We could put Joe Rogan in the person tag. We could, and then all of a sudden, Apple would kind of claim that Joe Rogan was a guest in this show, which he wouldn't be. And so I think there's all of that stuff that we need to be careful of as well. And I totally understand why Apple has a slightly different way in terms of linking hosts and guests and that sort of thing.
Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, James, is there's been a discussion related to transcripts on the Podcast 2.0 community around adopting VTT and removing SRT. Now, you're one of the people who's heavily involved in that conversation. So what's going on?
Yeah, and it's not around adopting VTT, well, because everybody is using VTT. It's around simplifying the tag. It's around making the tag simpler, or the feature simpler, for podcast app developers and for podcast hosting companies. At the moment, you can produce a version of your transcript in VTT, which is a good standard that everything supports, including browsers. You can support SRT, which is a less supported standard and is not supported in browsers. You can support, and by the way, really easy to transfer between VTT and SRT. It's a really easy transform. Then you can support a text file, which has no particular formatting in there. And then you can support, well, either an HTML file which has some formatting in it, or an HTML file which doesn't have any formatting in it and is just a link to where the transcript is on the web. You can support all of those things. And that's fine, but we don't need to support all of those things. And it's a typical podcasting 2.0 thing. Sorry, I know that some people are going to get annoyed, but it's a typical podcasting 2.0 thing of going, what's the most complicated thing we could possibly do when we are working out what this tag does? So my recommendation has been that we remove the SRT file and the TXT file completely from the spec. And so that we're left with the VTT file, which is for captions, if we're going to be strictly accurate. And we can still use HTML files for a link, and those weird and wonderful JSON files that link every single word. That's absolutely fine if you really want to do that, just to make life simpler. Because at the moment, the podcast transcript tag is twice as complicated as it needs to be.
Yeah, and I think it's that word by word follow along that most people like to see in the transcription. Now, Apple have done it some weird way because they use VTT, but they don't use JSON, and yet they still have word by word follow along.
Well, again, this comes back to Apple trying to avoid spam, because what is going on when you upload a podcast with a transcript to Apple is that it looks at the transcripts, it compares the transcripts with the word-by-word version that it has already produced, because it's still producing transcripts. And then it goes, oh, okay, well, the transcript that this podcast creator has supplied looks to be more than 95% accurate, or whatever that figure is that they use internally at Apple. And so they just switch the transcript over to be the creator-led transcript. That's, I think, what they're doing. So actually, it's got nothing to do really with the VTT file. It's got more to do with just that Apple is producing a word-by-word transcript anyway. And they're using that to just double-check that what is in the audio, but also what is in your creator-produced transcript looks about right, because otherwise, again, you might end up spamming and putting all kinds of stuff in there. So again, I think this is typical Apple thinking about it really, really hard, working out what they can possibly do. Apple supports both VTT and SRT, but you can well imagine that it would be much easier for them if they were just supporting the VTT transcripts. So just making life easier and simpler is, I think, a good plan. So that's what the plan is currently. I'm asking a ton of people who are already consuming the transcript tag, would this be a problem to you? So far, I've had lots of people saying, no, this will be absolutely fine. This would completely simplify our life. We don't have to produce lots of different versions. And I've had one person who has said, we need a conversation with our PR person. And it's that one person who needs a conversation with the PR person that I'm still waiting to find out what it is that they actually want.
Oh, yes, because I'm sure the PR person is very clear on whether a VTT or SRT is the way forward.
I know, exactly. But it turns out that if you're a journalist, you are tainted with that for everything,
right.
including that. So, I completely understand. I completely understand why they're doing it. I don't want them to pull my arms and legs off, but also I just need to be, man, really? This isn't really what you want me to do. But okay, yeah.
Okay, moving back to our sponsors, Buzzsprout, they've also added a new feature called the Superpower Editor. I don't think that's actually what the feature is. I think that's what Jordan called it. But what's very cool is if you do, and this is interesting actually, James, because you talked about TXT files being removed. But if you want to, with Buzzsprout, we do, it automatically creates AI generated chapter markers. You can then go and edit and change those in a visual editor. But if you're one of the power users and you want to just do a TXT based, then Jordan was talking about it on Buzzcast about taking, she uses Adobe Podcasts and she cuts and pastes the chapter markers out of that. And now she can put it into this new Express chapter editor, which is a text box, and it will automatically create the chapters for you.
Yeah, well, that sounds excellent. Or if you're using Hindenburg Pro, as I use to edit this particular podcast, then you put the chapter points in there as you're editing, and that's even easier. And the good thing is, you just upload the MP3 to Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout knows that there are chapters already in there. But yeah, I mean, more ways of editing chapters are really helpful. And again, this is something that Apple does. If you don't have any chapters, it will make up its own. But if you do have chapters, then that's cool, and you can use those instead. Exactly the right way, I think, for any podcast app to be working there.
The last bit I really found neat with what Buzzsprout done. You can now, in the transcript, see the chapters down the side like an index, but they've also put the chapter titles above the transcripts, or they've embedded it within the transcript. So you're reading down the transcript and it'll say, right, this is where we're talking about Buzzsprout. And so you'll have the title and then below that, the transcript. So I think it's really cool that you've merged them. I think you and I talked about this, I don't know, 3 years ago. Right. Well,
they've merged them in the Apple Podcasts app ever since transcripts launched. So chapter titles have always been in the transcript, and I think that obviously makes sense. And so to be able to see them next to one another in the Buzzsprout editor as well is really cool. I have to say, there are a number of things that I'm sorry to bang on about our sponsor, Buzzsprout, but there are a number of things that they have done which I have been very impressed at. And I don't know whether you're aware, but all of the AI stuff that was producing titles and producing the transcripts and everything else, they were all being done by a third party a while ago.
Yep.
And that third party disappeared. And I thought to myself, oh no, well, Buzzsprout uses those under the hood, and so Buzzsprout will be screwed then, won't they? But then I went to Buzzsprout that week and everything was still working absolutely fine. And it turns out that they had quietly brought all of that stuff in-house a few months previous, because I did notice everything had changed UI a little bit. So they brought all of that stuff quietly in-house, and no one really spotted that. No one really spotted, oh, okay, they're doing it themselves now, rather than using a third party to produce all of this stuff. And it was still the same high quality. It still worked as you expected it to. And I just thought that's a very impressive thing to, that's like refueling a plane while you're still flying it. I thought that was a particularly smart thing. So hurrah for them. And they've launched another thing, which we'll get on to a little bit later on in the show too.
Yes. Now, moving on, James, Beehiiv. I don't know if anyone's heard of Beehiiv. They may be if they use newsletters, but they have made a push into podcasting. What are they doing?
They have. They did something earlier on in the year where they were launching a way of you plugging your RSS feed into your newsletter, and then your podcast would sort of magically appear on your Beehiiv website, which they also run. But now, as of today, they have launched a brand new thing. It's proper podcast hosting. And given the last conversation that we were having, it includes transcripts for free, which is very cool. I thought that this was really interesting, and I thought it was worthwhile having a quick chat to the CEO, Tyler Denk.
My name is Tyler Denk, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Beehiiv. I also run the product team here, more so in like the day-to-day.
And so for anybody that doesn't know, what is Beehiiv, first of all?
You're asking at an interesting time because we are evolving as a platform. I think maybe a few years ago, even maybe a few quarters ago, I'd say we're a newsletter platform, but we are shifting to this platform for anyone that has an audience to be able to create content, grow their audience, and monetize it. It's a working tagline. We're still kind of workshopping that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing, and I think lots and lots of changes happening in owned media owned by the creators that create it. You've just launched this week a brand new podcast hosting service. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. And so the thinking behind that is a lot of our existing customers already actually have a podcast hosted on another third-party platform. And what both creators and publishers want less of is managing 5 different platforms and 5 different tools with 5 different logins, 5 different payment subscriptions, and the ability to consolidate that tech stack into a single platform is great. One, for cost, it's great for ease and efficiency. But we also think as we enter this like new era of Beehiiv, that it allows the ability for us to extract insights about who your audience actually is, which is better for the publisher. I think a lot of our publishers don't fully understand. They write about sports, and they assume that they have 50,000 people that like sports, but they don't know gender, they don't know household income, they don't know what types of sports. Is it NBA, is it NFL, is it rugby? So I think there's like a whole audience insights layer that we can actually do better than anyone now that we are bringing newsletter and website and podcast all under one roof. And so that's kind of like the working thesis behind it. And yeah, podcasts are something that we're super excited about because it is a pretty one-to-one overlap with our core audience. A lot of them do have podcasts. And we think that it's powerful to be able to bundle a subscription with your podcast and newsletter. It provides a better coherent experience to your audience. And that's what we're really looking to deliver.
So you've got analytics which are built to the IAB standards, so podcasters who are somewhere else will notice that they get much the same analytics from you as well. But talk to us about monetization, because obviously Beehiiv has a lot of that built into it already. I'm guessing that this will allow something like private podcasts. Would that be right? And that you can pay to access. How does that work?
I guess to take a step back of where we are today with monetization, primarily on the newsletter front, there are 3 ways to monetize your newsletter. We have an ad network. So we have advertisers like Nike, Netflix, HubSpot, etc., Roku, whatever. You don't have to have a direct relationship with any of those brands. We have this network. If you're going to send your newsletter later this afternoon, you can see that HubSpot's willing to pay a $3 CPM or a $5 CPM. You can add that ad to your newsletter. You get paid out a few weeks later. So we have this globally scaled ad network for newsletters. We also have a paid subscription product, which means that you can charge $10 or $20 per month for private content that is like exclusive content just for paying readers, not dissimilar to like a New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal type of subscription. Then we have like a co-registration network called Boost, which is kind of like recommending other publishers in the network. And in return, you get paid for sending them new readers. So that's like the 3 levels of monetization that we have today on the platform. With the launch of podcasts, we are starting off with subscriptions. And so, as you alluded to, a private podcast feed that is only available uniquely to paying subscribers. unlocks basically the ability to group your paid newsletter with your paid podcast. And so now you have more of like a bundle approach to the subscription that your audience is paying. That's available today. The evolution of that and coming soon will be more of like a freemium version of podcast, where maybe it's not all or nothing, but most of you, call it 2/3 of your episodes are free, and you have an extra episode. You basically choose on an episode per episode basis, which is behind the paywall. So that will be coming later this quarter. And then later this year, what we think is one of the big unlocks is the ad network. And so the ad network that we have today is only for newsletters. There will be a world later this year where the ad network expands to both website and to podcast, and we'd have auto inserted ads. And of course, with AI, there's a lot of really cool things you could do where perhaps the host uses 11 Labs or some voice recording service to basically have an ad host read in their own voice that they actually never recorded. So I think there's a lot in the innovation and AI space that we could do to kind of push that. But yeah, the goal is monetization for podcasts.
And how much are you charging for all of this? I'm imagining that this isn't going to be free, is it?
Depends. So we are grouping podcasts in with our existing subscription plans already on the platform. And so the way that looks is if you're on our free plan, you get one episode per month. To do up to 4 episodes per month, it's like the scale plan, which is like our lowest cost plan, and then unlimited episodes is on what we call the max plan, which the way that we charge is based on list size. So for very small content creators just getting started, even that like top max plan might start at $79 a month for unlimited podcast episodes. But if you are a very large content creator with, millions of contacts, then that could be a few hundred to a few $1,000s a month.
Yeah, but it's all built in to the current plan. There's no additional costs just to do podcasts in terms of
no add-ons, no new exclusive podcast plan that's 5 times the cost of our other plans. They are bundled into our existing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you've not just sort of launched this as a podcast hosting platform and gone, there you go, there it is, because you've also added a few dozen shows already which are on your platform. There are some quite clever titles such as the Creator Spotlight podcast, for example, the AI Report, Not Right Now, and so on. Why did these people want to jump in and move their podcast to be hosted with you?
Yeah, obviously we don't want to just build in the dark, launch this new feature and hope that people sign up. We obviously make the product better by listening and getting feedback from people who are intimately familiar with launching a podcast and telling us what they want to see. I'm pulling up this message now, actually, which is it's really the thesis of kind of like the direction we're moving in. One of these incoming podcasts that is now being hosted and distributed on Beehiiv said they migrated their old email platform, which was much more expensive, over to Beehiiv and canceled that subscription. They migrated their podcast over from Red Circle and canceled that subscription. They used to have a link in bio on another platform. They canceled that, and now they have their link in bio on Beehiiv, and then also their website subscription, which was another third-party platform. And so they were paying for another tool that they had no real brand affinity for that was charging them maybe a couple $100s a month to host and distribute their podcast, but they were already using our tools for their website and for their newsletter. And again, going back to the initial thesis that we started with, just the ease of use and consolidation of having all of your audience insights and content in a single platform that you trust, and that moves as quickly as we move to innovate on the product and provide the best user experience that we can, seems to resonate with all of these people who were not reluctant whatsoever to move their podcast over. And we think that the launch will be pretty successful because of those insights as well.
And it's not a bare bones thing as well. You support a number of different audio formats. You do automatic audio normalization, which is something that not every podcast host does. You also do transcripts as well, which is interesting. And you give every single podcast a website because, of course, it's part of a wider thing as well. Are the transcripts you do, will those transcripts get into places like Apple Podcasts as well, or is that something that you're working on?
No, we're actually one of the few providers that actually has that direct integration with Apple where they do support the transcripts that we're passing. So anyone listening on Apple Podcasts can see the full transcript on the Apple Podcast listener. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense that we are not taking the approach of, I think some companies go for consolidation and they launch a bunch of features that are like a 4 out of 10. And they think that the value of consolidation is better than offering actually unique and comprehensive features in each one of those individual offerings. We think we're a 9 or a 10 out of 10 on newsletter. I think we're like a 7 or 8 out of 10 on website, and we want to be a 9 out of 10 on the podcast front as well. And so, as you alluded to, yes, we do the audio normalization. Every audio file that's uploaded, we do a full transcript. The transcript feeds into Apple Podcast as well. And then I think the problem that we've seen a lot of content creators and publishers run into is when you publish a podcast across all of these different platforms, you don't know if your audience actually prefers Spotify or Apple or YouTube. And so you end up choosing one of them, which turns off the other 50% that doesn't use Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But by creating a website page that's SEO optimized for every single episode, as soon as you publish your podcast, we create a website page that is hosted on your website. It's SEO optimized. It has the transcripts, but it also serves as like the one destination you can send your audience. And they can choose whether they want to listen to Spotify or YouTube or Apple. And so I think it's a better audience experience and it's more consistent. And obviously there's a lot of benefits for SEO and AEO and AI and everything else to be able to have those dedicated web pages.
And you've got also, obviously the benefit that people on your platform know who their subscribers are and know who is paying to get additional shows on the podcast, which is something that is impossible to do with Apple, for example. So actually, it's certainly a way of getting much closer to your audience there as well. One of the things that Sam, my co-host, would be chiming in and saying if he was awake at this time, but he's not as we record, is that he sees a future where the future is very much driven by people paying to listen to individual shows and not using advertising. And I think it's interesting that you have chosen to do both paid for premium shows, but also adding advertising in there as well. How do you see advertising and paid subscriptions sort of fitting together if we look at in the medium term in a couple of years' time?
$20 a month, and we don't take a cut of that revenue. Whereas if you think that your audience is less likely to convert on subscription, but very interested in ads, and we can do very high targeted quality ads that serves your audience well, we want to provide the tools and infrastructure to do that as well. So I don't know if I fully believe the thesis that there's going to be one emergent, better way of monetization for podcasts over the long term. I actually think we're going to see more experimentation and monetization across the board for all of them. And I think a lot of podcasts may even just choose that their real monetization strategy is engaging an audience to drive down funnel conversion to a community or to an IRL event. And so I think it varies. And I think we don't want to be the arbiters of what is correct. We just want to be flexible and allow our users to be able to monetize and experiment however they like.
Tyler, it's been great to talk with you. Where do people go if they want to find out more about Beehiiv?
Well, first you have to spell the company right. So Beehiiv.com is where you would find us. And we are pretty easy to find on social. So on X and LinkedIn. If you follow me, you'll see every update that we launch as well. So my name, Tyler Denk, across socials.
Tyler, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate you having me.
Tyler Denk from Beehiiv, Beehiiv. It's a podcast and newsletter hosting platform. I have to say, when I was looking at, do I want to keep on running my own newsletter software or do I want somebody else to do that for me? Beehiiv was the number one choice that I was going to go with. So I thought that was interesting. And I think that Ariane Nissenblatt uses it for earbuds and all of the other 250 different podcasts that she runs. And I believe that Tink Media and other people use that as well. So it's a nice tool if you want to take a peek. Also, Podcast Movement uses it. And I believe Sounds Profitable also use it. So it's a good tool. What did you think of what Tyler was saying there?
I mean, I've had a lot of positives. I think we have talked on this show about the arrow of direction with Substack. I think Supercast, who we interviewed a few weeks back as well. We've talked about podcast portals as a term. Adam Curry talked about it as the Rachel Maddow problem many months ago, which was Rachel Maddow complaining that why can't she get a branded portal basically and aggregate all of her content in one place. And I think that's what you've seen the industry do. And I think Beehiiv have woken up and said, I think this is the next thing we need to add. So they've had newsletters, which has been their bread and butter or their honey. I don't know which term I should be using.
Nice honey. Yes, nice.
I think
their nectar.
I think the thing that Tyler said, which is what I 100% agree with, is consolidation. The whole is better than the sum of the parts. So they're looking at, add podcasting, add newsletters, add other functions. And I'm pretty sure they'll get into video. I'm pretty sure they'll get into live. That's exactly where Substack have gone. We know Patreon's got into hosting. So I think, I think hosting is becoming a commodity within a series of services that are provided by a platform. And I wouldn't call that platform a host. I would call it a platform. And I think it definitely is. And I think the interesting thing with Beehiiv is that they have understood that the way of earning money for creators isn't all in one bucket. It's not all in the membership bucket. It's not all as well in the advertising bucket. There's a bit of both. And there's, boosts or, tips or whatever it is that you want to call them. Adam is saying boosts. But, there's that sort of side in it as well. And I thought that was an interesting switch. So Substack is not that, but Beehiiv is most certainly seeing, okay, there's some ad money, we'll have some of that. There's some money in terms of the memberships, we'll have some of that as well. And actually, that's quite a clever way of thinking about it. Yeah, and I think it was interesting. They talked about premium content, something that they want to do with podcasting, where they will have a fixed fee charge. What I found most interesting, though, is the question they were talking about. They have an ad network, and I think, given the newsletter, they've got a strong ad network, and they want to bring that into podcasting as well. I assume using DAI. So they've got a lot of tech that they've got to build out because, as I said, they've got no live, no video. They've got no speaker labels either on transcripts. That was one of the things I noted very quickly. There you go. So they've got to upgrade that as well, I think. Their model is based on per user charging. And this is where I think I think fast forward 6 months, maybe a year, I think there'll be 5 or 6 platforms that offer multiple services under one platform. They do have a very impressive list of advertisers, but then, if I was to do the same job for the Podnews newsletter, then I could work out a pretty good list of advertisers as well. Apple advertised once, so we'll put them in. Spotify advertised a few times, we'll put them in, so on and so forth. So they've got Notion and PayPal and Quince, Shutterstock
Shutterstock, Superhuman, the Black Tux, whatever that is. So they're doing a fair amount of that sort of thing as well. On the same line, Transistor has announced an integration with Ghost. Ghost is an open source CMS, and you can use Ghost's paid membership tools to give access to a Transistor private podcast, which is pretty cool. So much the same as on Beehiiv, if you want to do a private podcast, you can absolutely do that. And as soon as somebody stops paying, they stop being able to access the show that you are delivering to them. Very clever of Justin to end up doing that. And you can learn more about Transistor's integration with Ghost in the Podnews daily newsletter.
James, I'm going to throw in a bit of a wrench now, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, yeah.
What I think Podcasting 2.0 hosts are missing, and I've said this consistently for a while now, is they are allowing private feeds within their platforms, but they're not getting a cut of the subscription revenue. So Justin has enabled it. I would love to know whether he then gets a cut of the subscription revenue that Ghost generates. And I think hosts need to get into the game of offering both freemium and premium. I don't think allowing private feeds and enabling them is the right way forward, because you're not making a revenue on that. You've done the engineering, you've done all the work. Yes, people can then use it, but does the Ghost content appear in the RSS feed that Transistor distributes? No. I don't know. No. So what's the point then? And if he's not making money on the Ghost subscriptions because Ghost make all that money, then why bother?
I mean, that's a question for Justin, of course. But I mean, you can well see that if somebody is thinking about a monetization option, then and they're already using Ghost, as many large companies are, then you can certainly see that an integration might be helpful to them. I suspect that what's actually happened here is one of Transistor's big clients is using Ghost. And they've said, is there a way that we can link our paid show with our Ghost platform? And Justin has said, oh yeah, that sounds like sense, but has built it in such a way that it works for anybody on Ghost. I think that's probably what's happened.
Okay.
And talking about Buzzsprout, as we were earlier, of course, just a reminder that they do have a paid subscription. You can offer subscriber-only content like premium and bonus episodes and early access to episodes and all of that. It integrates with Apple Podcast subscriptions, which is also very nice as well. And in case Mr. Sethi is interested, 15% flat fee on all transactions is how Buzzsprout works. If you're with Buzzsprout, then hurrah for you. You'll find it under the monetization tab, and it's marked subscriptions. Now, it's time for a jingle.
We're sorry, but now it's time for more news about Spotify on the Podnews Weekly Review.
Haven't used that one for a while.
Good.
Oh, good. Sam, why
indeed?
Why should this survive the edit?
Well, okay. Thanks. Put me under pressure. Here we go. Start for 10. Spotify have come out with a couple of new advertising formats that they're introducing now. In the main, I don't normally get excited by these. But the first one is, they're talking in a press release about time spent in the app is rising by 26%, click-through rates on audio and video, and ads are up by 14%. All good stats. But the first ad that they're putting in is the ability to have brands in playlists. So they have New Music Friday, they have other playlists, and now you can have a visual placement in that playlist. So you can, I suppose, sponsor or brand enable your major playlist. So good, they're selling a bit of real estate. No issue on that. The second one, though, that did catch my eye, we've been talking about Podcasting 2.0 and potentially a new merchant tag coming in, or a store tag, whatever it's going to be called finally. And one of the things that YouTube and Spotify have done well for creators is allow merch to be associated with their content. So if you're Bruno Mars and you've got a concert in London and you want to sell some T-shirts, well, the T-shirts appear below, and when you click on the link, it goes out to a third party. Well, they've added a new carousel ad now, which you can then put with the music playing. So instead of the cover art of the album playing or the single, it will now be the visual of product, let's say, if you wanted to enable that. And it's a carousel, not a static single image. You can then sort of whip around and see 5 or 6 different products. You can click on it, expand it out while you're listening to the music or a podcast, and purchase that. So
now you have just said while you're listening to a music or a podcast.
Well, I'm assuming, because I look at it as a music in the video, in the image we've got in front of us. But why wouldn't you be able to do it with a podcast?
Well, why wouldn't you exactly? But carousel ads at the moment don't appear to be, they don't appear to specifically mention podcasts, which I thought is interesting here. It's a new feature rolling out soon in beta to eligible markets in Spotify Ads Manager. I should say, whenever Spotify say rolling out soon in beta, then this essentially means that Spotify will never actually launch this. We're still waiting for Spotify to do transcripts properly for a start, let alone half of the other things that Spotify are rolling out in beta. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's probably telling that the Spotify team haven't PR'd this to me, because I think that probably tells you that this may just be a music thing rather than a podcasting thing, but I can always go back and ask. It certainly looks like an interesting additional revenue stream, perhaps, for how Spotify want to work.
Last thing that Spotify announced, Daniel Ek got very excited. He's announced something called Song DNA now. They bought a company I'd never heard of called Who Sampled. They bought it last year. And the idea is you can explore new ways to look at how the song was made, what the cover was, what the influences was. So it's sort of digging deep. This might be for you, James, with the Beatles. I don't know. Or maybe you know everything. But I don't know. I really don't know. But I think that's the sort of user they're targeting, somebody who wants to get behind the music and find out more about the artist, more about the influences of that artist. And I only mention it, I wonder whether they'll extend that into podcasting in any way. Can you see a way they might do that? Well,
so Song DNA, which we've had in Australia for a while, actually. So it's nice that the rest of the world is getting it. Song DNA is quite nice in terms of it gives you more information about some of the contributors to that particular track, as well as remixes and stuff like that, which is quite nice, and covers. So at your prompting, I am busy looking at the Song DNA page for Drive My Car by the Beatles from the 1965 album Rubber Soul. And the contributors, as you would guess, are the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, but also George Martin, because, of course, he's the producer of this particular track. So you've got that already. Then you have where this song has been sampled in, and there are a bunch of different places where the song has been sampled. You've got covers, which you can save as a total playlist. So if you want a playlist of people singing Drive My Car, then you can absolutely do that. And I would estimate that there are probably about 70 on Spotify. So there's all this kind of information, but it's exactly what I think Spotify should be doing. I tell you what Spotify is missing from that. There must be a podcast about the Rubber Soul album from the Beatles. There must be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What they need is some human curation in there to be able to link the many podcasts that I'm sure exist about that particular album to this particular album entry into Song DNA. I'm surprised that they haven't done that yet. But there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of really useful information. I believe it's only available for premium subscribers, but why not? It's exactly what I think Spotify should be doing. And as you so rightly say, they could well use this sort of thing. This is obviously where the people tag could end up going in terms of the contributors, carousel in here. And you could also see Podroll being used here, as well. So there are a bunch of things that you can build in. Possibly Song DNA is not the right name for something which is about podcasting, but you know what I mean.
But I think, for example, you're on multiple podcasts as a guest. Yeah. So let's say somebody goes, "Oh, I want to follow James Cridland." Yeah. Right. Okay. And now I know he does these 3 podcasts. I've seen his Podroll. Brilliant. Okay. Now, where's he a guest on? Something like this.
You can well see that would be very useful. And that, by the way, is something that you can already do with Apple Podcasts. But they are using human beings to generate all of that information. So that's pretty hard. But yeah.
Or maybe they're using the transcript with AI now to detect.
No. There's a man that we both know called Dave Jones. Do you really think that they would be using transcripts to to find anybody called Dave Jones and putting them all together? I don't think that's going to work.
Okay, all right. That's the end of the Spotify section. You'll be glad to know. Hooray! Right, move on. You'll never get their PR people to talk to you again. Now, moving on. So, James, talking about advertising, there's a lot of talk at the moment about a return on investment for advertisers. Tell me more, James.
Yeah. There's a bunch of tools. Obviously, the Podnews daily newsletter is being sponsored by Podscribe this month, and they do a very good job in terms of podcast attribution. So helping advertisers understand what's working for them and what isn't. We could now have a 15-minute argument about that, Sam, but we're not going to.
No.
But there's also a bunch of AI-powered tools as well, which are doing this job too. So instead of using promo codes, vanity URLs, there's other things that other companies are doing as well. One of those companies is a company called Brkthru. It's very Web 2.0 in that it's Brkthru without any vowels at all other than a U at the end. But I ended up speaking with Tom Leone, who is the Vice President of Media Services at Brkthru, to find out more. And I asked him what Brkthru was.
Brkthru, at its core, we are a services company. We just happen to specialize in paid media. It's interesting. A lot of times people mistake us as an agency, but we actually are not an agency. Agencies, in fact, are our clients. So we work really closely with a lot of agency partners to help power their media buys on behalf of their clients. We're platform agnostic. So we work across about 23 different buying platforms across all digital mediums. And we really hang our hat on service to those clients and help meeting the client KPIs and driving results through exceptional service.
Okay. Well, I mean, and talking about driving results, you've just announced a new tool which helps better measure advertising. Before we get into that tool, firstly, what's wrong with things like promo codes and vanity URLs? That's what most people use, right?
It depends. I wouldn't necessarily say anything's wrong with them. I think it's just kind of different use cases for different circumstances. So I do think that there are times when a promo code, for instance, has its benefits, but it's going to be largely dependent on what the end goal is, what the vertical is. If it's for e-commerce or takeout, getting a pizza, that's one thing where a promo code, could work in your advantage and help you measure. Something more personal, like a medical screening or something like that. In a case like that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a promo code because you just have to be very mindful of your audience and what the outcomes are, but then also how you intend to measure. If your sole source of measurement is going to be how many people are utilizing the promo code, that could be a bit short-sighted, a bit narrow, not really give you the full frame of reference.
Because quite a lot of people just forget to type the promo code in, which is certainly a thing. And I think, if you're given a promo code, but you actually just Google the name of the company, well, that just means no attribution to the podcast or to whatever the media was. So I suppose you've also got that side of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a full journey, right? And I think podcasting is interesting because it's an audio medium, and audio has always been kind of upper funnel, brand recognition, not as much direct response. But now with the advent of podcasting and being able to watch it on various devices and video forms and getting so niche in your targeting, et cetera, it's kind of led to some more attribution focus, despite it typically and historically being more of an upper funnel tactic.
So what's your solution to better measure advertising? How does that work?
So we really kind of holistically at the campaign, it's very rare one of our customers is running just the podcasting campaign with us. It's part of the entire story. Kind of going back to what we were just discussing, we really try to attack it from a full funnel approach and utilizing podcasting to help drive results down the funnel. Now, we also run search engine marketing campaigns and programmatic campaigns, native campaigns, etc. So we're able to see the results of those campaigns that happen with lower funnel attribution. But we also like to look more holistically at, you're looking to drive results, you're looking to drive more people to your website, more engagement across your socials, more unique visitors getting to your homepage, things like that, because that's essentially your virtual storefront. So we look at the baseline of where we started, and as the campaign's running, if it's going up and to the right in those measurements that I just mentioned, it's typically a good attribution that we're driving positive results.
So you're looking at the numbers. Are you using, web bugs and IP addresses and stuff like that? Or is there some AI in the mix? Or how are you actually working out whether a campaign is a success or not?
Yeah, all of the above. So typically we work within a Google Tag Manager where we're deploying a container across the client's website, checking the various page visits and areas of the page where individuals are visiting, post, ad listening, ad viewing via cross-device graphs, etc. We do use AI to some extent, but mostly to help us slice and dice the information. I mean, there are a ton of different log file reports that we receive, and the advent of AI has helped us kind of pull quicker insights and sparse a lot more information together and faster than we ever have been able to do before.
Yeah, sure. Does Google Tag Manager work with podcasts then?
Yeah, well, if we're driving traffic to, say, a homepage, for instance, right? Like what we want to do is track the conversions, and if it's getting tied to a device, which typically podcasts are being listened to on an iPhone or an Android, or even now with podcasts happening on TV, there's cross-device graphs happening with your CTV device in your home.
Yeah.
So we could map that all together as well.
Yeah. Your release talks about delayed conversions, and I always find delayed conversions really interesting. There was some research that I saw recently talking about radio advertising and saying that radio advertising can work up to 48 hours after the spots have gone out, as people remember what they were hearing while they were driving, and then once they're at home, they can actually have a look at stuff. How does that work? Is it the last media that gets the ad? Do they get the credit, or how does delayed conversions work in terms of this?
Yeah, typically we want to look at the whole picture, right? So you're going to look at last 48 hours from the last touch, but you could also go back and say, okay, well, we touched this user 5 days ago, 3 days ago, 1 day ago, and it's all part of that journey, right? Like, this is why we try to zoom out and look at the overall traffic getting driven to a website, for instance, because someone might see a truck with a brand on the side of the road, and then see a billboard, and then pass the storefront, and then hear the radio ad, and then see it on social, and then convert, right? So who gets the credit there? So we want to take that whole journey into account when judging the success of a campaign.
Yeah, so everybody gets a bit of the credit in terms of that.
Correct.
So what's the secret source that Brkthru is offering here? Because there are quite a lot of people who are doing attribution. What makes you guys different?
Yeah, well, we pride ourselves on being platform agnostic. So like I mentioned at the outset, we're running across 23 different platforms. So it allows us to find the audience a lot more efficiently than, say, some of our competitors may be able to. Because just for instance, taking podcasts out of the equation for a second, like if someone wants to run on Amazon, if you're not working with the Amazon DSP, you're not going to be able to run on Amazon for the most part, right? So the fact that we're running across such a wide variety of platforms allows us to play within various walled gardens as well as outside of them.
Right.
And that takes a lot of expertise, right? Like I have a team of 40 plus media traders that are working on our behalf, and they need to be fluent and have a lot of expertise across all those various platforms in order to execute the campaigns on behalf of our clients.
Yeah. Your release talks about the work that you've been doing in terms of host-read ads, which are, of course, are a big part of podcasting. Does your model have any advice for us in terms of how to do a good host-read ad? Are there things that that your tools have spotted that would be good if we were all doing?
Yeah, I think you want to be selective there. You want to work with hosts that have a good following and that people trust, right? And you also want to mix in dynamic ad insertion as well. I don't think you want to rely entirely on host read because you want to diversify, right? Diversify and track. But I do find host read being, particularly when your message is up front, you want to avoid the skip button, right? You don't want people reaching for that 30-second fast forward. So you really want to capture their attention in that first few seconds. But also you're being that the host read is more native to the format and it's not dynamically getting inserted, it's typically resonating with the audience more and increasing recall. Yeah,
and I guess there is also, if you're McDonald's, for example, and you're using your little audio jingle in your ad, obviously you can't really use an audio jingle in a host-read ad. So there are benefits in doing both, I guess, aren't there?
Yes, yeah, it's a great point.
So where do we go to find out more about what you offer?
Definitely check us out on all of our various socials, on our LinkedIn page. Also could visit Brkthru.com as a full readout of all of our offerings, how we work. Again, we're very customer service focused, so a lot of it is centered around that. We're not as product of a driven organization. We more tend to try to bring some solutions. So if there's something that you're looking to do, give us a call. Chances are we're able to do it.
And as is always the way with internet companies, Brkthru is spelt with no vowels apart from the U, because everybody needs you. So BRKTHRU. Tom, that's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
The Podnews Weekly Review with Buzzsprout. Start podcasting, keep podcasting.
Now, moving on. It's coming back, James, the Podnews report card. It's back. It's going to be at the London Podcast Show. So what's it all about this year?
Yes. So we've been running the Podnews report card now for 5 years. This is the 5th year of this. It's an annual piece of research into what podcast creators think of the platforms that we all use, things like Apple and Spotify and Amazon Music and various other things. There's a couple of interesting things with this. I get invited by pretty well all of the platforms now to share the results of the Podnews report card. They actually take it quite seriously, which is interesting. I'm already booked in for both Apple and for Amazon. And what we have also seen over the last couple of years is that things that people have been pointing out in the Podnews report card have been fixed by the platforms. So Spotify fixed control of comments. People were very upset that they didn't have any control of people going on to their podcast and leaving a miserable comment or a libelous comment. And Spotify, unlike Apple, have now given us that choice. So that's good from Spotify's point of view. And similarly, Apple Podcasts, an awful lot of feedback was how difficult it was to get your podcast into Apple Podcasts initially. And so they made that an awful lot easier. And clearly the Podnews report card had something to do with it. It probably wasn't the Podnews report card, but clearly it had something to do with it. So anyway, if you're listening to this, hooray! You should be also going to podnews.net/report card and fill out the questionnaire there. It'll take you about 10 minutes. And that would be very excellent of you if you wouldn't mind doing so. Already 50 people have already done that. So we're already off to a flying start, but I would like more, please. So podnews.net/report card. And if you want to find out what everybody says, then come on time for the podcast show in London. That is where I will be unveiling the results of the Podnews report card in the first session of the day, 9:15. Get there and get there early. And you'll be the first to find out what everybody is saying.
This was around the world, James. Japan, what's going on in Japan?
Yes, more people are listening to podcasts in Japan than ever before. This is a news survey, the one of many that Otonal and the Asahi Shimbun company have produced. Japan podcasting is still relatively small. It is definitely not an audio country. There are a few of these countries in the world. Korea is one of them. Japan is another one of those. But of the people that are consuming podcasts, more than 3/4 of them are watching video podcasts at least once a month. The number one platform for podcasts overall is YouTube, it says. And among younger listeners, podcast usage is bigger, which I thought was interesting, bigger than Amazon Prime Video or Netflix or TikTok. So I thought that was interesting. More details on that in the Podnews newsletter. Staying in Japan, there is a podcast hosting company called Listen, which is publishing HLS video, hooray, to open podcast apps. The feature is now available to all users, including those on the free plan. Gosh, that's brave. And those are delivered to anything that understands the alternate enclosure tag in terms of video, which is very clever. Moving to the UK, Bauer Media Audio is doing some fun stuff with Android Automotive and making sure that its podcast and radio app called Rayo is available in some of those cars. And in Brazil, TikTok is seeking approval from the Brazilian central bank to operate as a lending and payment financial company. Brilliant. That's exciting. They've applied for 2 licenses. One would allow it to operate as an electronic money issuer, offering prepaid accounts for users to hold balances, receive funds and make payments within its app. There's exciting, Sam.
Well, you don't think it's exciting, James, but
no, I do. I think it is exciting for that audience in that country. I think absolutely. No, this is very good.
I think we have struggled to get across the concept of wallets and micropayments in podcasting. We've been banging the drum for 3 years, pushing the rock up the hill, pick your analogy, and it's been a hard sell. And I think I got a little bit more excited, although I know it was X, but, Elon Musk did hint that he was about to bring out wallets. I remember Twitter was talking about micropayments before its sale, and I thought it would require a large social media company or another platform to bring micropayments in and to make the learning of wallets and how you can use micropayments before it would roll over into podcasting as a mechanism for people to reward podcasters. If TikTok is the platform that then gets this licensing and then allows payments on their platform, and people can then start to reward content creators with micropayments, and then on the back of that, buy product and all the other things they do. Great. It needs to be somebody. It's not going to be TrueFans. It's not going to be Fountain. It's not going to be Podverse. We aren't big enough to move the needle. But
I mean, the one thing I would say is that wallet apps are everywhere in Asia, everywhere. Wallet apps are quite available in many of the Nordic countries now. Unfortunately, I think this is something, great that they're doing this in Brazil, but I think that this is something that it really needs the insular people in the US to finally understand how micropayments might work. For this to move forward. And I'm afraid whatever TikTok wants to do in Brazil, well, great, but it's completely irrelevant to the myopic view that comes out of the US. So once we get a way of doing this in the US, I think it'll make much more sense. We can do micropayments here in this country, in Australia, using an email address as our payment address. We can do that today. It's all programmable. It's a thing called Pay ID, and there are no costs to it. But again, nobody in the US has seen it and gone, "Oh, that's really interesting. We should be doing something similar." So, unfortunately, it's a rather typical case of not invented here. So, I wonder who is going to be first. Maybe it is going to be Elmo with the X app, but who knows?
I found a couple of things that just made me laugh when I was last over in the US. Contactless payment. And then I still had to sign a receipt, which didn't. I know. And that blew my head. And then the other one was.
Well, you know why?
No.
So you can add a tip on the bottom.
Oh, right. Okay, got it.
You can sign it Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
No one will care.
Right.
It's just purely so that you can add a tip on the bottom.
Got it. And then the other one is that they come to the table and they take your credit card away. They don't bring a machine to your table, which, most of the world stopped doing that.
Yes,
but
I wish they'd stop doing that.
I think we talked about MasterCard and Visa getting into stablecoin. And again, not to go and repeat that whole conversation, but I do think that's going to be the way that America brings forward micropayments, and then that will be what we see roll out across the world.
People News on the Podnews Weekly Review.
Well, let's look at people and jobs. Congratulations to Owen Grover, who has been appointed general manager at Nomino. At Nomino. Anyway, it's that company which has that sort of amazing little mobile microphones and the big box and everything else. It's very cool. Owen joins from Truefire Studios, from Pocket Casts and iHeartMedia. And Chris Bourne, I'm going to say is how you pronounce his name. Anyway, he is the new CEO of Audio UK, and he has just started. So congratulations, Chris, for that. And he will be on this show to tell us about his plans for Audio UK in the next couple of weeks. Also coming in the next couple of weeks, Sounds Profitable's Brian Barletta, who basically lost his voice at Podcast Movement Evolutions, and it still hasn't come back. And he will be spilling the tea about Podcast Movement in New York and the Sounds Profitable event in New York. He's telling us how much the tickets cost. Good news if you want to go to Podcast Movement, because the tickets are quite nicely affordable, which is good. And it's a different conversation when it comes to the Sounds Profitable event. But more on that when you hear Brian Barletta in this very show next week.
Will it be on at the same time as the World Cup? 2 for 1.
It's in early September, so I think the answer is no.
No. Oh, well.
No, I'm afraid none of that. Awards and events, just very quickly, we got a full list, an exclusive list of the podcast nominees for the 30th Annual Webby Awards before anybody else. And it's interesting that they've got dedicated categories for video podcasts as well now. iHeartMedia in the lead with 16 nominees, Audible with 10, SiriusXM and Wondery having 6 nominees each. My suspicion is that that will be the last time that you see Wondery having 6 nominees, because of course Wondery is kind of disappeared now. But in any case, the winners' ceremony will be on May the 11th, but I think we get the winners a little bit earlier than that. There's also shortlists out from the Golden Lobes, which is a comedy podcast awards in the UK, the New York Festival's Radio Awards as well, and also looking forward to the New Zealand Podcast Summit. That's not an award as well. And moving on to events, the New Zealand Podcast Summit is in May the 9th in Auckland in New Zealand. I spoke there a couple of years ago. They're doing some pretty fun things. If you are in Aotearoa and you would like to go, then you should. It's very cheap to go, and you get to go to the pub afterwards. What more could you want? The New Zealand Podcasting Summit 2026 is where to go for that. And there's plenty of headliners now announced for Cross Wires, which is taking place in Sheffield in July, the 2nd to the 5th of July. I know I've been invited. I need to work out whether or not I can actually be in Europe at that time. But
at least you got an invite. I didn't get one.
But all kinds of people. You can go. You can go. It's free to go.
I know.
Good
Lord.
Lord.
It's occasionally nice to be invited.
Here we go. You went last time, didn't you?
No, I was going to. No, I went to the Edinburgh Festival instead. But yeah, I do want to go to it. No, all truth be known, I do want to go to it, so I probably will be up there. But
yes, so you should.
The tech stuff on the Pod News Weekly Review.
Yes, it's the stuff you'll find every Monday in the Pod News newsletter. Here's where Sam talks technology.
Great Pods, the podcast discovery platform, has relaunched with an expansion of its user-facing features, so a new website. So congratulations to them. Beehiiv Studios has announced it's expanding into video. I thought they were video only. The new Video First series and the addition of a weekly video plus 2 audio shows. Interestingly, they're only on YouTube, no video on Spotify or Apple as of yet.
No, I think Beehiiv hosts with Megaphone, so that may explain that one. But yes, I am trying to, whenever somebody tells me that they're doing a video show, I'm trying to actually go in and check on all 3 platforms as to whether or not you're really doing a video show or whether you're just doing a YouTube show.
Exactly.
That's my thinking there.
In other news, Riverside is shortly to be using Ophonic service to improve audio quality. Isn't that the technology behind Magic Mastering for Buzzsprout?
It is, yes. So it's a thing that does all kinds of stuff. We use it for automated de-umming and de-erring. I know that there are lots of ums in this podcast. There are even more before Auphonic automatically edit quite a lot of those out. It also does dynamic audio leveling and noise reduction and all kinds of other things. It's a great tool for you to go and use yourself as well. Buzzsprout's Magic Mastering only uses a very small amount of that. But yes, interesting to see Riverside in one of those exciting GDPR sub-processor emails talking that they're going to be working with them. So you can probably guess what that is all going to be working on.
And finally, Thomas Rademacher has been working on a product for the iPad called Boosts with a Z at the end. He says it's a replacement for Helipad. It uses the Noster Wallet Connect, which is basically allowing you to use any payment wallet over the Lightning Network. It's available in the beta now. It looks pretty nice. It doesn't require a back end, Dave Jones was asking. It only requires that you are online. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't use Helipad and I don't use NWC, but you use Strike with a K.
I use Strike with a K, yes, absolutely.
So it might be something for you to look at, maybe.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I don't know whether Strike with a K goes into Noster.
Yes, it does, yeah. You can use it with NWC, yeah.
Right. Oh, well, there you go. This I thought was interesting. Podclaw. It's a new podcast hosting company without a front end at all. You just use API calls to post shows onto it using, it'll, get to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube and blah, blah, blah. It's free forever. If your show gets less than 10,000 downloads a month. But I thought it was, here we are now where specific new products are being built just for AI agents to help them publish their podslop, new word, podslop, into as many places as possible. What have we become?
Boostergram, super comments, zaps, fan mail, super chats, and email. Our favorite time of the week, it's the Pod News Weekly Review inbox.
So many ways to get in touch with us. Fan mail by using the link in our show notes, boosts or email, and we share any money that we make too. We got a very nice fan mail message using the link in our show notes from Kevin at Buzzsprout saying, "Thank you for the super nice co-host mention after the interview with Barry," to which I replied, "It's what you pay us for."
That's not what I replied, I have to say.
So that was good. But something weird and wonderful has happened to fan mail. And this is very cool because I got another fan mail and this is it.
James, Sam, how's it going? This is Albin from Buzzsprout. All right. So in the Pod News Weekly Review inbox, you've got this great stinger, Boostagram, super comment, zaps, fan mail, super chat, email. And I hope you have space for one more because we just launched voicemail for fan mail. So listeners can now send voice messages straight to a podcast like I'm doing right now. Then you'll be able to read the transcript of what I send. You can listen to the audio. You can download the audio and use it in your podcast. I've always loved those end of the year episodes that you do with the wrap ups, where you get all the supporters to send in audio messages and then you play them on the podcast. And my hope is that this will make it easier for other shows to do something similar. Thanks for everything you do, and thanks for a great show. Talk soon.
And one of the really clever things about this is it limits you to 60 seconds as well. Album, this is super cool. And it sounds great as well, doesn't it? That's using your iPhone microphone. But you can use it on any device, of course. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. Sam, what do you think?
No, I like it. I mean, we are in an audio medium. It's so nice to get an audio reply from people. We had another one as well, didn't we? We had another voicemail.
We did. And this is it.
Saludos from Spain, James and Sam. I'm David Marzal, and I miss the jingles.
I do not know what he means by I miss the jingles. David.
The Spotify one we had earlier.
Oh, that one. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. I've played it. So David Marzal, who I have been pronouncing David Marzal. David, thank you. So you see, this is why voicemail is going to be so useful to us. It's a super great thing. By the way, another thing that Buzzsprout have also launched is you can actually reply to messages which have been sent as well, which is really nice too. So lots of movement from our good friends at Buzzsprout. If only they press released it, some of it, but still, there we are. So really cool. If you would like to leave us a voicemail, I've moved the link in our show notes right to the top. You'll see it says leave James and Sam a message, and you can click on that link, whatever device you are using, and leave us a message. Comment on any of the things that we have talked about this week. It would be great to hear your voice in the inbox for next week.
Can I add a feature request? Can I add a tip with it? No, joking.
That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yeah. There's been a bunch of super comments through TrueFans as well, haven't there?
Yes. Martin Lindeskog sent us 11,235 sats and said, Nemono Sound HQ is in Trondheim in Norway, offices in Oslo. James, here is a symbolic tip to ensure proper service at the pub in London. It's a Fibonacci sequence. First no beer, then one beer, then another beer, 2 beers next, 3 beers, 5 beers. So that's why it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Nice one. Thanks, Martin.
Wow. That's a good tip as well. So thank you for that. What other messages have we got in Truth?
Martin said again, it looks like my super comments from March 18 were lost in space. Yes, we were refactoring. So here was a Starship Boost 1701. I clicked on the pay button before I changed the default of 222 sats. I had to top up my wallet. Yes, you do, in order to send the digital telegram. Neil Velio is now informed that his superfan position, right? James, happy birthday. Yes, we all forgot to wish James a happy birthday. What are you now, James? 900? No?
Says you.
Yeah.
Yes.
How was the concert in London? It was very good. And here is a super comment which he left above. So yes, thank you very much indeed, Martin.
Yes, that's very cool. Seth Goldstein sending us.
He was not happy with you. I'll tell you in a minute.
Oh, okay. Well, firstly, he has said, I like the idea of transcripts. I prefer it's on the podcast or a host, not these apps. Agreed. He also says, James is clearly not a fan of Girlhanger. LOL. It's pretty clear. Love the snark. Thank you, Seth, for that. I'm a fan of the stuff that they put out when it's a decent audio experience. So, yeah. That was snarky again, wasn't it? Well, there we are. And also 2,222 sats. Yes, you can guess who this is from already. It's from the Ugly Quacking Duck using Podcast Guru. He says, I really enjoy hearing about other people in the world. One of the best things about your podcast is that you don't just centre on things from the States or from the UK. It helps to hear many different people and the podcasting in their lives. Thank you for the episode. 7-3. 7-3 to you too, Bruce. And that's very kind of you. Thank you for being our biggest person in terms of sats to normal sats through the system. I know, but true fans, it's still a bit confusing how the money is coming in and all of that.
Yeah, well, this was last week, not this week, so you're fine. We've sorted it, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes. Well, yes, we will continue to talk about that off the air. I think.
Oh, okay. Oh dear.
But oh dear. Here's a bug report. Anyway, and thank you to the many people who are our power supporters. Genuinely appreciate this. It really helps us with things like planning where the drinks are going to be in London for the podcast show, more on which in a future podcast. That includes David John Clark, the late Bloomer actor. It includes John McDermott, Claire Waite-Brown, and Neil Velio as well. Thank you all so much for that. If you would like to join our power supporters, please do. weekly.podnews.net is where you go for that, and transcripts, and to leave a voicemail, and anything else that you want to end up doing. So, what's been happening for you, Sam, this week?
Well, I'm too frightened to tell you now. So last week we successfully refactored all of the Olby API and payments. We've added a new payment queue. One of the problems with LN address is it doesn't have a batch mode. So with KeySend, I know this is very geeky, but with KeySend you could batch up all the payments into one addressable payment. And therefore, for the user, they said, okay, 222 sats, click, off it went. And then we dealt with the splits in the background because we could batch do the payments. With LN address, you have this sequential payment model. So shows like Podcasting 2.0, Adam and Dave's show, have about 15 splits. And it just timed out. It just took forever. So we built a payment queue, which means that we can mirror
a queue. That's what you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it mirrors what KeySend does in the background, and means that we can retry if we have a failure as well. Yeah. So, nice little update. Now, one of the things that you're going to tell me is that our method of sending comments is not clear because we're not sending the metadata with the payment. So what we've done is we've copied the proposal from Fountain, which wasn't actually a accepted proposal. It's a considered proposal, but we think it's a good idea. So we're now using the metadata within the description field with a URL, the same as Fountain. So yes, we will now be able to put who the payment came from. Oh, it's been done today.
Oh,
so it's gone out.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's live.
There you go. So I don't need to grumble at you for that. That's brilliant. Brilliant news.
Good.
And I tell you, one of the things using Strike, so having something on your phone, I am seeing a lot of people listening to, whether it's the Pod News Daily, whether it's the Pod News Weekly Review, a lot of just things coming up as I'm doing something else on the phone, and it says, "Oh, you've just been paid another 8 sats. You've just been paid another 23 sats. You've just been paid another 83 sats," and that's just really nice to end up seeing. It's a good sort of motivator to keep you doing stuff. So it's been interesting seeing that.
I'm also going to be speaking at the London Podcast Show. So I know you were talking about you're the keynote on day one at 9 o'clock. Don't be late. I don't know what day I'm speaking on, but I am speaking on the future of podcasting. So I'll be talking about streaming hosting and publisher feeds and other things, which are more at the extreme end of where we are with podcasting.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. And I'm also listening to, you're right, The Empire of AI by Karen Ho. I think is a really good book if you're into. She spent a lot of time with OpenAI, the team there. She's not very complimentary about Sam Altman at all. And it's a very good inside book from what's going on in the world of AI.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Well, that won't be one that I instantly jump to. What I am currently reading at the moment is I'm reading a book which is very, very fearsomely negative about Qantas, the airline. It's called The Chairman's Lounge, The Inside Story of How Qantas Sold Us Out. Wow. And it's going into all of the illegal things that Qantas as an airline has done over the last 5 years or so.
I mean, they had so much free publicity after Rain Man. How could they screw that up?
Yes, that was a long, long time ago. So that has been good. I have put my little electric car in long journey mode. Because on Saturday I am driving for 5 hours up north to Bundaberg, where I'm going to be spending a bit of Easter up there. The rest of the family have already gone, but I used recording this podcast as an excuse to stay home. So that's all very good. I'm looking forward to playing around with that. And in my big list of things to do over the next couple of days is to understand the new pricing model for Amazon CloudFront. I say new, it's a new thing that's been happened for the last 6 months or so, because I need to understand how it works and whether or not I should be switching to it or not. So that's my next plan. And the one thing I was going to mention in here as well was that I've been playing around with the method of encoding video for Apple Podcasts. So although I'll never be able to, because Apple Podcasts aren't going to sign me up as a podcast host, I was still curious as to what it takes to encode video as an HLS stream that would work in Apple Podcasts. So I've ended up doing that, and that's been quite interesting doing. I'm 3/4 of the way there. I don't fully understand how the iframes work, which are those things that you see as you're scrolling through. So I've yet to fix that, but I've done everything else. I'm using AV1 to do the video encoding rather than what it was, and using AAC for the audio and all of that kind of stuff. And so what it does, in case you're curious, is instead of having one 25 megabyte MP4 video file, I now have 178 files and 34 megabytes of disk space. And if anybody wants to play it, then instead of it being one request, it's now going to be 84. So it's the future, kids. So that's how that works. But still playing around. But once I get the iframes in, then I'm going to stick the HLS back in as an alternate enclosure, and we will see what happens there, I guess. Anyway, that's it for this week. All of our podcast stories, of course, taken from the Podnews daily newsletter at podnews.net.
You can support this show by streaming sats. You can give us feedback using the Buzzsprout fan mail link or voicemail link now in our show notes. You can send us a boost or become a power supporter like the 24 power supporters at weekly.podnews.net.
Our music is from TM Studios. Our voiceover is Sheila D. Thank you, Sheila, for re-recording some new things because Alban mentioned it. Our audio is recorded using CleanFeed. We edit with Hindenburg. And we're hosted and sponsored by Buzzsprout. Start podcasting. Keep podcasting.
Get updated every day. Subscribe to our newsletter at podnews.net. Tell your friends and grow the show. And support us. The Podnews Weekly Review will return next week. Keep listening.